Welcome to the 2021 UTV World Championship Awards. I'm Matt Martelli and I'm here with Tim Shellman, aka TPQ, and we're going to run through everything that's happened over the last few days. You know, just amazing racing. I can't speak to the just craziness of how this last few days was. I mean, amazing racing. What do you think?
Well, we had beautiful weather, number one, a great course, a very, very challenging course, and several different courses for not only the youth racing, right, as well as the adults. So, and then we kicked in an extra class too for the rally racing, so which opened up another door, another opportunity. Tons and tons of kids, which is probably the coolest thing that we could ever ask for, because obviously that's the future of the sport.
Absolutely.
Right? If we had 3 kids show up in 3 170s, we'd be really bummed. But that's completely the opposite the case.
Well, let's do the math a little bit. We had over 100 kids racing with us, so our future is pretty bright.
Right. What gets us there, Matt? So, I mean, there's a bunch that takes part in this thing. I mean, there's like a million moving parts. Like, who contributes? Who helps put this stuff together?
Listen, our sponsors, but first, before we thank the sponsors, I want to thank the racers and especially the families. I mean, off-road racing takes a team, and every team that's come here, you know, we appreciate you and we're glad that you're racing with us. But yeah, I mean, look, we're stoked to be here in Lake Havasu, beautiful city, a really amazing course. But yeah, let's get into thanking our sponsors. Let's start with number one. I mean, Polaris has backed us from day one.
Right.
You know, I can't thank those guys enough for supporting us and building amazing machines. I mean, really, this racing wouldn't be possible without them.
Exactly. They made a tremendous platform to build off of or modify when you get up into the upper echelon of classes. But let's talk about, I mean, the kids classes, going back to them, they dominate the kids class. Nobody else makes a kids side-by-side that is worthy of going out on a racetrack.
Which is crazy to me right now. You know what I mean?
Why
would you not do that, right? You know, it's amazing. So the 170 platform, the 570 platform, and now the new Razor 200, I think is going to be a game changer.
Completely.
I'm really excited for the future of off-road racing, you know, because of the vehicles that Polaris Razor are producing. There's going to be some little surprises coming. I'm not going to say too much about it, but there's more vehicles coming.
And that's Polaris. Can't thank Polaris enough. Let's jump into the suspension part of it. So let's talk about Fox Racing Shocks. But every time I go over and interview the folks at Fox Racing Shocks, I talk about you can have 1 million horsepower, you can have the best tires in the world, you can have the best built cage, but if you don't have the suspension to suck up the bumps and put the power to the ground, is completely worthless. Fox Racing Shocks has been there since the beginning. I'm part of the Fox family, and I will be until I'm probably going to have no knees left, and I'm going to have Fox Racing Shocks put in there.
That'd be perfect. I mean, maybe we can get some taller ones, and we won't have to do the
That's
stool, right?
I might get a 50-inch inseam and finally hit 6 feet tall.
There we go. Yeah, I can't, you know, this is another sponsor who's been in off-road racing since the beginning, and you know, John Marking, who actually is getting inducted into the Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame, is one of the founders of the suspension division, the off-road suspension division. And I can't, you know, speak highly enough of this company. They've changed the game. I mean, totally. Now when you drive a electronically controlled suspension system that Polaris is you know, integrating into their vehicles, it's amazing. You know, you remember the days where we had to set up our suspension and it was just like, okay.
Clink, clink, clink.
Yeah, good luck. So, you know, big props to Fox. They've completely changed the game. A new sponsor to us this year, Engine Ice. Cooling is paramount, right? So they're the only company who builds a UTV-specific coolant, and they do it all in America.
Right.
Amazing company, amazing history of the company, and they just really got into the UTV market, so we're super excited about them being involved. I'm gonna jump you here on the next company because these guys are my friends. Off the Grid, these guys are a clothing brand, an off-road specific clothing brand, and one of the coolest things that they've done is they made an off-road pant, you know, pair of pants you guys all wear. 4-way stretch, so us larger dudes are comfortable in it, right? I know you're fine with all the medium stuff, but
It makes me look buff.
But I have to shop by size, right? I walk into the store and go, what do you have in XX and what do you have in a 13 size shoe, which is a little challenging sometimes, right?
I have to go to the kids section. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Different
kind of
challenges.
Different challenges.
So, these guys build they build amazing products, but particularly their pants. The other cool feature about their pants is their pockets are below where you harness in. So you get to harness in and you can still get your cell phone and your wallet and everything. So go check out offthegridsurplus.com, I believe is their URL. And it's all clothing made for off-roaders.
I'm gonna have to jump in real quick. I was literally interviewing them on the UTV Festival out on McCulloch in downtown. Azwest UTV Festival. And I actually bought a pair of shorts right there. I bought a pair of shorts and I wore them and I had literally everything in my pockets and nothing was encumbering me moving around. I had microphone, radio, chapstick, TPQ stickers, cell phone, all stuffed in different pockets that I could get to. And it was flexy and it was fantastic. And they actually had my size too, which was...
That's great that they have kid size.
They do have kid size. It goes all the way down to 3T.
Right.
I'm kidding. So coming off into the next one, VP Racing Fuels. Okay, like instant horsepower that you just dump right in the fuel tank. I mean, these guys have been around for forever making performance fuels that you just dump right into the rig. And then you can actually take and build an engine and have a specific fuel make it perform way better than you would on like pump gas or some other kind of octane booster or some kind of garbage like that.
Well, and a lot of people don't know that the current fuels that you're buying at a gas station are actually really terrible for the vehicles that we use.
They destroy the inside of it.
Especially when you're storing them. So definitely, get VP fuel and use it for racing and use it for recreation.
And the greatest tagline ever, making power.
Right, exactly. So the next one is super personal to me. Robbie Gordon from Speedu Utv, he's building a new vehicle. He came here and raced, did absolutely, outstanding racing here in a brand new vehicle. And his son Max was racing with us, had really one of the drives of his life. He put up $5,000 for the first finisher on Speedu Utv suspension, as well as $10,000 for the winner of the Pro Turbo class. I mean, this guy's a class act. He, is a racer and a builder, and he knows what gets racers excited. So thank you to Robbie Gordon and Speedu Utv for putting up the prize purse.
Yep, 10K went to the Pro Turbo race. I mean, that's putting your money's where your mouth is.
So Blurton's walking away with some checks.
Yes, he is, like a whole mess of them. So let's talk about Ober Tires. So Ober Tires coming from the East Coast originally, and now they're busting into the West Coast. Mike Caffro is one of the drivers on Ober Tires.
Yep.
Kind of brand new to the scene out here on the West Coast.
Absolutely, but what's cool about this company is that they've listened to the racers, and particularly with Caffro and James Kirkpatrick with his Wolfpack, or no, sorry, with Black Hills UTV.
Right.
Sorry about that, Mike. But they've listened to their input and they've been adjusting the tires. And so Mike has won, I think, 4 races in a row in Baja with those tires. So awesome company. We're super stoked they're supporting us. The next company, local, right?
Yes.
Local dealership, power sports dealership, right. Azwest. They've been involved with the UTV World Championship, I think now for 6 years, right? Even when we were in Laughlin, it wasn't their city.
Correct.
But now, what's great about them is not only do they help us out with sponsorship, they provide vehicles that we use, but they're right down the street. It's literally the closest parts supply to the race. So they've helped out a lot of racers and a lot of people. So thank you to Azwest.
Talking about owning the night. Once you get out into the darkness, you can't. I don't care how many bananas you eat, you're not going to be able to see at night, right? That's just how it works. So let's talk about Rigid Industries. Rigid Industries, they developed this new GPS lighting system, which is phenomenal, and it works off of, like, once your battery voltage starts to get low or you're driving faster, I mean, it calculates. It's most amazing stuff ever. I mean, typically you just go light on, light off. And that was a big problem with the charging systems on a lot of these side-by-sides. So Rigid Industries came up with a brand new system, and it works phenomenal, but also tough as nails.
Well, and you want to add lights to your UTV and your, the truck and trailer that you're pulling. So, support the people who support us. Rigid Industries has been a long-time supporter, and especially here they support and are title sponsor of the Poker Run.
Tell me about Jamar Performance.
Okay, this guy is super cool, right? His son races. He's been helping us with organizing the squirrels in terms of all the different rules of the youth racing, right? And trying to make it as fair as possible. One of the challenges that we have as a race promoter is there's other organizations that have rule sets that don't match, right? So our goal is to make everybody have a good time, and we listen to all of our racers, our race parents in some cases. And Mike has been, super helpful in organizing this thing, and he puts his money where his mouth is. So they build great products. They do a lot of aftermarket products, primarily hubs and different products like that. So again, support Jamar Performance. They support us.
Assault Industries. So Assault Industries is the manufacturer of those phenomenal trophies.
I don't think manufacturer is the right word. I think it's like they're the artists, right? It's funny because I get a lot of the trophy truck guys texting me and going, hey, why aren't our trophies that nice, right? And in some regards they are. At the Mint 400, Assault also does our trophies, but really cool. Marcelo and his crew from Assault Industries, they always take care of us. I mean, they're putting thousands and thousands of dollars into these trophies, so the racers feel special. And they build amazing products. So they basically build like everything for your UTV.
Yeah, anything you can bolt onto it, they make it.
Yeah, absolutely.
PCI race radios.
So for a lot of the new people in off-road who don't know who the Weatherman is, this is a very significant thing because this is the only UTV race that we have the Weatherman at. And the Weatherman is relaying safety information. It's a tradition in off-road racing that was actually started at the Mint 400 and then parlayed into Baja with Scott Steinberger's father, right, who's not with us anymore. But Scott and his company, PCI Race Radios, have carried on the tradition. And look, we're super grateful to them, not only for what they do as race safety, but what they do as PCI and in making sure that you have communications for your UTV, as well as all the safety equipment that you need. So definitely, again, these guys are the original radio outfitter for off-road. Go support them.
So let's talk about Republic Services. So all the stuff that you bring in that to a racetrack has to go out somewhere. You generate garbage. You generate waste. And also, if you want to go clean up your space, say you guys are huge advocates of going out and cleaning up the desert because there's a lot of yahoos that like to run out and dump old tires, old cars, old boats, that kind of stuff. You guys are advocates for cleaning that up. Who else helps you out with that?
Well, let's talk about Republic for just a second. I mean, trash doesn't just disappear. These guys handle all of our disposal services, right? So all those blue rollers that you see getting filled up, those are supplied by Republic Services. They're also involved in our Mint 400 desert cleanup. They've been a great partner. And it's super important for us that, as we operate as off-road racers, we leave it better than we found it, right? I actually sit on the board of Tread Lightly, a fantastic organization that everybody should join. And it's our responsibility to manage our resources and manage the desert so that it's available for future generations. I mean, I know me personally, the thing that I hate the most is going out to a remote area and seeing somebody's garbage.
Right.
Generally I pick it up if I can and pack it out, but I always pack out what I bring in. And so it's an important thing to us at this event that we leave it better than we found it.
Rugged Radios. So Rugged Radios, of course, taking care of communications, very, very stout company, very customer-orientated company. They're all over the pitch. They're the first ones to open up, the last ones to leave, making sure they're taking care of everybody for communications.
These guys are another amazing supporter of us because they're not just a sponsor, they handle all of our communications for our race operations. So literally every crew member from my crew, race operations, everybody is operating on their system. And what was really cool about these guys, all the way down from the owner, Greg, is that, you know, we asked them for their support, and they designed our system. They're like, this is what you need to communicate in this area.
Right.
So they really take care of us, and you know, they build some of the best systems for your off-road vehicles and UTVs. So check out Rugged Radios and support them, please.
Shock therapy. So shock therapy, I know that comes in. You have a standard shock that is on a stock vehicle. You don't have big cash to throw at a bunch of brand new shocks, you know, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 on a brand new set of shocks. Shock therapy will actually take that shock that you have on your vehicle, take it back, you send it to them, they'll take and break it all down, they'll do the valving on it and so forth, and the bypass valves to get it specifically designed for what you're trying to do. Shock therapy is probably the best way out, and probably the one that will specifically design it for you. It's not a out-of-the-box thing. You're going to drive differently than me. You weigh a couple hundred more pounds than I do.
Me? I thought it was lighter than you. But yeah, awesome company. And one of the cool things that I love about this culture is that we have a lot of owners who race with us. And Justin from Shock Therapy was out here racing. I think he raced 2 classes. So really cool company. And shock setup is critical. I mean, you'd be amazed. Go to them, have them reset your shocks. Even if you're not a racer, if you're, you know, just somebody who's driving around in your play car, you'll be amazed.
Right, night and day. So vision wheel. Wheels are important. I mean, obviously a tire.
Just a little bit. They're just a little.
Just
important.
a little bit. You go into that corner super hard, right? A big rutted out corner. It's got a bunch of whoops in it. You side load that wheel, and it's the difference between busting out the center part of the wheel or blowing the tire off the bead. That's where vision wheel comes into play, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of wheel companies involved in the sport, but these guys have been a supporter since day one, and you know, they've been building a specific UTV wheel that's about to launch. So super excited for these guys, you know. And I would mention that the guy who won, Phil Blurton, was on Vision Wheels. So
yes.
Talk about a testament to the product.
Absolutely.
You know, definitely a brand that's on the rise, and check them out.
Sight Solar. So Sight Solar, tell me about Sight Solar.
So you guys saw the lights all over the area, you know, in the start finish. Really cool brand. You know, back in the day, it was always, you know, diesel engines that we had to keep fired up and, you know, keep gassed up and everything.
Dumping fuel in to keep the lights going.
Yeah, which is a challenge, right? And costly. And these guys have such an amazing product. You know, they basically, you know, capture all the sunlight throughout the day, and then sun goes down and they just flick on and we have the light. Like, poof, pretty logical, right?
Right.
So, you know, what's great about them is they provide us all the lighting for the off-road world, but they're also big in mining, construction sites, etc. And so if you have that type of business, look these guys up. They have an amazing product, Sight Solar.
Tensor Tire coming out of also the Method Race Wheel tent. Tensor Tire doing an amazing job creating a tire specifically for the off-road community. I mean,
well, and specifically for UTVs. That's one of the unique things about these guys is they didn't start as a truck tire or a vehicle tire. They started specifically as UTVs and immediately started building tires that address some of the issues of off-road racing, and they build an amazing product.
So once you're out in the desert in your play car and you want to go loud and clean, you look at Rockford Fosgate. Rockford Fosgate, I love my music. My music's got to be at 11. It always has to be at 11. So it is to drown out the screams of my passengers, typically. So Rockford Fosgate, of course, delivering all kinds of great systems. I saw the coolest roof system. It had like an 8, 5 1/4 and tweets throughout the front and the back, and it had a 10-inch sub stuffed up underneath the dash. But most importantly, the plug-and-play head unit that just gets stuffed right in the front.
Well, what's cool about these guys is that, you know, not only are they the leaders in off-road and I guess weatherproof audio. But they built really specific stuff for UTVs that come stock in most most Polarises now. And even the Polarises that it doesn't come in, they're plumbed for it. So it's plug and play, right?
Right.
And it's always been funny to me because growing up in off-road, we always had our tunes with us. So when UTVs started growing, we immediately started outfitting them with music, right? And Rockford Fosgate was the logical choice. They've got the best speakers, the best head units. So check them out. Like, it doesn't matter what vehicle you're rocking, rock with Rockford Fosgate.
Ooh,
You like that?
I just wrote that down.
Right.
Talking about LOSI.
Old school. I love this company because the founder of this company actually came from skateboarding, Losi skateboards, right? And evolved into RC cars, and then was bought by a larger company that we do a lot of work with. They actually make the RC cars for the Mint 400.
Wow.
And super cool company. They give us a lot of support. Losi. They put up an incredible prize package for the Utes, right?
Utes, yeah.
So all these kids who won are getting low-C cars to terrorize their parents and terrorize the neighborhood, right?
I love it. That's so cool.
It's going to be great. And again, like, these guys build our custom Mint 400 UTV trophy trucks, right?
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
No, that's way cool. Having custom cars, RC cars like that. Let's talk about Go Lake Havasu. Go Lake Havasu, of course, the beautiful city that we're in. We almost had a run of the town, right?
This is an amazing town to work with. I mean, these guys have been so accommodating. The mayor, everybody in the city, everybody's like, hey, we want you to come here. We want you to have a good time. What can we do to help you? We're going to be here for a long time and hopefully doing a lot more racing here beyond UTV racing.
So Tread Lightly, what you talked about a little bit earlier, Tread Lightly is actually the people fighting to keep recreational spots open.
Yeah, this is an important thing. I don't want to get all preachy, but it's up to us to manage lands, right? Like, in the light of everything that's happened with COVID and the pressure that we've been putting on riding areas and the increase of UTVs, it's up to us to be responsible and to keep these lands open. So, I don't think it's a super difficult thing to do. Take a trash bag with you. If you see somebody riding off course and doing something stupid, let them know. But it's important for us to manage our lands so they're available for generations to come.
Orba.
Orba is like our NRA, right? It's the Off-Road Business Association. So if you're a business in off-road, definitely join Orba and have a membership, and support their fight to support everything. We have, all kinds of issues that we're dealing with, from land closures to, like in California, there's a new bill that just passed by our beautiful governor, and we're gonna have to fight it. So, and that's what we're here to do. We like a good fist fight, but Orba is the lead fighter for us, so support those guys.
So thank you so much for Sight Solar, of course, for providing all the lighting for the race. And of course, thank you our own weatherman, Scoot Seinberger.
Scott. Definitely not Scoot.
Not Scoot.
Yeah, Scott's a good friend of ours, a good friend of mine. And, he did an amazing job at the UTV World Championship, keeping everybody safe. And again, it's one of the things that's unique to the UTV World Championship that we go out of our way to do, as far as safety. The only other races that he does currently are all the score races in Baja.
So City of Lake Havasu, the mayor.
Yeah, Mayor Shahi.
Yeah, great to work with.
Jackie Leatherman, she's been awesome in the tourism department. The BLM, these guys are great to work with here. I mean, they came out and actually watched the race with us. Especially their field manager, Jason West. It was really cool. And the site that we're on, is adjacent to the Campbell family's rock quarry. So big shout out to those guys for putting up with all of our traffic and shenanigans. It was really funny last year when we,
Prep the site.
Yeah, spent the money to level the site to make it available for camping and everything. After the fact, they called me and said, there's people using this all the time. I don't know if this is a good idea, right? But for us, it is a good idea, and we
Right.
want people to have a nice access point to, get into the desert.
So let's talk a little bit about the actual singular persons that are on the ground, that are behind the scenes, so forth. Like volunteers. I mean, how many? You have an army of volunteers that just want to be a part of the big show, the big event.
Absolutely. I mean, I love when people come up to me and give me props, or my brother, or our crew. I really appreciate that. But there's a lot of people that help us. This takes, a lot of effort from a lot of people who are super passionate about off-road racing. So I want to make sure to thank all the volunteers and crew, starting with, the guy who probably people don't know him, in person, but he catches all the flack and deals with everything in between us and the racers. Is Killian Hamlin, who's actually my cousin, so don't give him too much of a hard time, right? And then our race operations manager, Jason Pritchard, amazing guy, has worked his butt off. And then my crew, starting in, Tony Lozano, who does all the branding, is basically putting up everything, managing that so that we look good. And Cameron Johnson, one of the younger guys who races with, I'm sorry, not races, but works with us.
Yeah.
And then Luis, a new guy who's just hustled super hard to get everything up. And let's go to our registration team, because that's a magical thing. In case you haven't noticed, this is pretty much the easiest race to register for.
Right.
So nobody was standing in a line of 100 people, unlike all the old school off-road races.
Oh yeah, and that's your first point of entry as a racer. I mean, obviously you got to get parked, and then you get the family out, and of course you got to put water down for the dog, and then you got all this crap, and then you go stand in line for a couple hours just to even set up to get your packet and whatever to get to the racetrack.
But I don't know about you, but I hate standing in the line.
Hate standing in line.
So I don't want you guys to stand in line. So, help us by registering online and being done with it. You're going to come in, you're going to sign a form, you're going to get a wristband, and then go have a drink and have a good time.
Brian Agee, Katie Johnson, Kim Simpson-Stone, of course, heading that operation, making it as smooth and as painless as possible. Because really that is as a racer, I have one thing in mind. I need to get my car on the track. I need to go race. I freaking hate paperwork. Hate it.
Me too.
Let's make it as simple as possible, and these are the people that help that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about one of our big home runs this year, which was the Azwest Utv Festival. Oh. So, it was a lot of work to get that done and get that on, McCullough and everything going. And so big shout out to Izzy Stone, who actually has been with us a long time, but this is his last rodeo with us. And then new rodeo guys, Brennan Freeze, and especially Jimmy Switzer. So they were down there making sure everything ran smooth, fixing people's problems, making sure everybody was placed. And the rest of the Mad Media crew who helped us, especially handle the trash on that street. That was a fun end of the day. That was a surprise, but we handled it.
Motorsport Safety Solutions.
Safety Solutions. Right?
Yeah.
So Dave Nerbus and the rest of his team, I mean, these are the guys that are pulling you out, right? And the guys that, potentially would save your life. But one of the coolest text messages I got during the event was, yesterday, when he texted me and said, "Hey, good job. We had 0 injuries."
I love that.
0 injuries.
That's huge.
Right.
That's huge.
Those guys do a great job. They're top of the food chain in terms of safety. And they're going to be with us for a long time.
That's the only group of people that you want to show up and pay and have them do nothing at all.
Absolutely.
Right? So technical inspection, so the tech inspect, so that's a big deal about getting everybody teched in to get them on the race course.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know because they're new to this, but a few years ago, I was looking for advice from one of the preeminent people from off-road racing, Sal Fish. And I was asking Sal, hey, we're trying to make our tech director, better. We're trying to make the whole program better. Who should I hire? And he goes, well, Bill Savage. He's the guy who wrote the book on score racing and really just off-road racing in general, just unbelievable amount of knowledge. So big shout out to Bill Savage and his crew. They did an amazing job, and super fair, amazing.
Scott Steinberger, of course, from PCI Race Radios, for assisting all of our communications.
Absolutely, we keep thanking him, but like I said, I can't understate the importance of having him as the weatherman here.
A little behind the scenes stuff that most people don't even understand, don't even understand what it takes to do a timing and scoring. You get to the finish line and you're like, all right, who won? Well, I had him down. He had 9 laps. No, he had 7 laps, whatever. That's where all the professionalism from Brandon Rode and Corey Kroll for live time scoring.
Yeah, I mean, look, we wanted to make this better. It's one of the things that drove us crazy about the old school way of doing it is it wasn't public, it wasn't visible, so we're transparent.
Right.
Everything is up on the live timing and scoring system.
As it's happening.
Yes, there'll be penalties, and yes, there'll be things that come up, but like you're seeing it live as it goes down. We're not hiding anything from you, and these guys do an amazing job.
I mean, how often, like years in the past, I've seen so many where everybody goes up over the final stage, where I am, and say, great job, who would you like to thank? But nobody got yeah, you won, or no, you got second or third or whatever. You got 5th place so quickly. I mean, you're literally pulling off the racetrack, and within a few minutes we have final results and we can say yes, 1st place, 2nd place, 3rd place.
Absolutely. I mean, that's always been the goal, and these guys have helped us create a system to do that, and we're just going to keep improving it and making it better.
Let's talk about staging.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, there's an amazing group of people who help us that, you see them out there and they don't get any recognition. So I'm going to start with, one of our most important players, John Cevino, right? This is a guy who's an OG off-road guy, has been in it from day one and just is super passionate about it. And his son, Johnny Cevino, is equally as important to us and just works his butt off to make these events great for all the racers. One of his other guys that he brought in, who I have a long relationship, Randy Perry, amazing guy. He does everything from staging to driving the water truck to driving the tractor. I mean, whatever there is that needs to be done, this guy jumps on it. Also, Don French and the rest of our staging team. Thank you. You guys did an amazing job. We couldn't do it without all of you guys.
Awesome. One last shout out I'll do. So there's another production team that has you come in so you're not sitting inside your car. After you get done racing for 4 hours, you're sitting in your car all staged up in front of the stage. Either you have the opportunity to sit there forever until all the scoring and stuff gets figured out, and then you wait for hours and hours. There's a production team on the backside of that, and that's headed by Maria Shellman that takes care of...
Oh, do you know her?
I resemble a name from somewhere, I think.
So.
With that being said, there's so much that goes into organizing how you come off the racetrack to the main stage. You have an ability to turn off and just go, I'm good, enough already. Or you can get staged up and say, okay, I just want to go up and get my, get my says for my sponsors and so forth, or make sure they line me up 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and I come in order and it's very seamless.
Sure. And you?
Me? I don't do anything. I'm just...
Well, I mean, and that's one of the important things. I mean, I think that, you get to the finish, you deserve a little bit of recognition, whatever place that you're in.
Right.
So that's super important to us, and you and your wife, Maria, do a fantastic job. We really appreciate you. It makes people feel special,
Well, they've done something very amazing, so it's my job and her job to make sure they get the props that they deserve. And I love the people, so it makes it easy. Let's head off into some awards, shall we?
Let's get to the awards.
All right.
Start giving away some hardware.
Welcome out to the 2021 UTV World Championships award ceremony, brought to you by Polaris. I'm Tim Shellman, go by TPQ.
I'm Matt Martelli. I go by Matt Martelli.
That's easier to say. We're talking about our youth races first and foremost. There were so many youth racers that came out to this event. It was tremendous. We're talking about the 170 class. So basically, that's the very bottom, beginning to get into the 4-year-olds, the 5-year-olds that are getting into the Polaris 170.
Well, usually
race class.
I think we ask that they be 6, but you're about right, the right age.
Yeah, there might be, you know, like a birth certificate that might have had a scribble mark on it or something. But these kids were awesome. They came in here and there was a pile of them. There were so many 170 racers, we had to break them out into 2 different classes, which is great because that is the future of off-road racing.
Well, it also made the racing more exciting because we got cars that were, you know, like each other to race each other, so it keeps it competitive.
You're 100% correct. We're talking about the Youth 170 production class. So that was the very first youth class that went off. In the number 3 spot, Georgie Lumosas. So he did such an amazing job in that Youth 170 production class. In the number 2 spot, Dexter Warren. Dexter Warren did such a great job. And then clinching that top spot, Jackson Leeming. The Leeming crew brought in, I think, 92 kids, 165 cars, something like that. There was a parade of Leeming group that came in, but we love having them here.
You know, it's awesome. And again, one of the cool things about off-road racing is it's not predictable. Like every race, and especially at the Worlds, we've got new people winning all the time.
We're going to talk a little bit about the Youth 170 Open class. So that's kind of like the parents throw a crap ton more money at these 170s, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, the 170 was originally designed to be a toy for kids to drive around. And I knew when the Polaris engineers showed it to us that we were going to be racing it. And they're like, no, this isn't for racing. I'm like, it's not up to us.
Right. The consumer.
I know some parents who are a little bit, you know, happy, and, you know, this was born. And it's really cool. You know, it's really cool to see the parents' passion, the kids' passion, and but the open class are more modified vehicles.
Correct. So they go rolling by, you smell race fuel coming out of them, which is really crazy, you know, and the kids are still same age, maybe a little bit bigger, maybe a year or 2 older, but I mean, they're still very small kids that are just mobbing through this track.
And I was really impressed with the kids and how they drove and how they competed. They were throwing it into the corners and really getting after it. And I'm really excited for the future of off-road racing because we have all these kids racing with us.
You think about the kids that, the adults now that are in, you know, the big turbo cars and so forth. They didn't have this when they were a kid. You know, they had a big wheel, you know, a plastic three-wheeler pedal vehicle. They didn't have a side-by-side to start in.
Well, absolutely. And one thing to mention, too, as related to the youth racing is that last year Polaris stepped up and they gave over $15,000 of support to some of the top finishers here and brought those kids in to be part of the factory Polaris Razor program. And now with the advent of the Razor 200, that's going to increase. We're going to see more support from Polaris and other brands, aftermarket brands, getting into the sport and supporting youth UTV racing.
Let's talk about the Youth 170 Open class. Jackson Mandel taking the number 3 spot. Landon Moreau taking the number 2, and on the very top box, Mason Cotter taking that big win. And I can't even remember, I think there was maybe 22, 23 kids in that stinking race.
I mean, look, this race is a little bit different than your average UTV youth race. You know, our track is a little bit different. It's more deserty. They're going to deal with dust. So, you know, I give props to all these kids who came out and raced. They had to step up a little bit, and we're pushing them outside their comfort zone. But, you know, they did it and came out and battled, and, you know, the best won. Mason
Cotter took the number 1 spot on that Youth 170 production class. Let's jump on over to the Youth 250 class. So Same kind of platform on that 170 platform, but we're going off, we're building the motor, we're doing crazy stuff with the suspension because how the whole suspension swing arm thing works. I mean, that's a lot to work through.
Sure.
I mean, there's a lot of parents out there that have gone through like counseling on the 250 class
Definitely.
to get those things working right. Well, they did, and that's when Polaris stepped in with the 200. So let's talk about the youth 250 class taking the top 3 spots. I was talking about Jackson Mandel. Jackson Mandel here in the number 3 spot. A lot of these kids transfer over 170 class, 250 class, 250 class, 570 class, 570 class, 1000 class. Am I talking too fast?
You're talking too fast, but it's cool to see. It's cool to see the familiar names, and I love the fact that they're racing multiple classes. You know, I hope as these kids climb up the ladder system, they continue to do that, you know, in off-road racing and race multiple classes.
Here's another familiar name in the number 2 spot, George Lumosas in the 250, taking the number 2 spot. I mean, saw him again in the 170 class.
This kid is an absolute charger, you know.
And phenomenal to talk to. So much great stuff when it comes to, you can be a great driver, right? You could be the best mechanic on your own stuff. Once you come up on top of the podium and a microphone gets stuffed in your face, if you're a great talker, the world is your oyster, right?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking on the live stream about racecraft. I mean, the idea of, you know, understanding all the elements of racing, and part of that is promoting yourself and managing your marketing. So it's really cool that these kids are learning this at such a young age, and being good, you know, on the microphone and being good on social media. So again, I'm just excited about the future of off-road racing.
And I'm super excited about this kid, Chase Mankin. Chase Mankin is a great personality. I love chatting with this dude. Anyway, he takes the number 1 spot in the Youth 250 class. Coming over a little bit different chassis, now a little bit bigger chassis, so a little bit bigger car, a little bit more of a handful, better suspension, you know, better geometry in the car, coming from the 170 and the modified 170 class. We're talking about the 570 class.
Sure.
So a little bit older kid, right? What I loved is seeing all the girls. There were 100 girls came up over the finish line.
At least a million.
At least a million. Right? Of all these youth classes, tons of girls coming over. And what I love chatting with the girls about is their ability to speak in public, right? Number 1, and not being shy,
Sure.
and being proud of being a girl, going out there and laying it down, you know, out there in the dirt, you know, with all the boys.
Right. Yeah, and we're seeing some familiar names in this class as well.
That's right. We're talking about Jackson Leeming again, here in the number 3 spot in the 570 class. Vincent Risitelli. So that was really cool seeing him come out and pull a big 2nd place. And then what was the name I've already said before? We're talking about
Chase Mankin again,
Chase
570s. Congratulations.
Yes, big stuff. I mean, pulling bunches of hardware in. I had medals hanging off these kids. They look like Mr. T when they were leaving the stage.
Dude, that's so awesome. And, you know, I look forward to, you know, Chase moving up in classes into, you know, bigger vehicles.
So the next class, this is kind of like the last step for the youth class, right? It's almost like taking a kid and putting them into a V8 Mustang, right?
Yeah. And what's cool about it, again, the challenge of obviously all the parents know is like the development of your child, you know, physically and mentally, you want to put them into the right vehicle to match them, right? And the challenge that we have is we've got a big jump after 570 onto the 1,000 vehicles, right? So when you make that jump, it's pretty gnarly.
It's a significant jump.
And especially here too, I would say both the 570 and the 1,000 I was speaking to earlier is that they go on a bigger loop. So instead of the traditional short course race where you can see them every time, we're trying to teach these kids desert racing, right? We're trying to give them a comfortable evolution where they get off the, you know, the tight track and they go out into the desert and get comfortable with it. And this one in particular is kind of the final step before you're racing with all the adults.
And these kids did it like amazingly. We're talking about Caden Danbury, a phenomenal, phenomenal racer.
Well, and Caden has come all the way through the ladder system, so he's definitely got his off-road legs beneath him. So
Right.
it's cool. It's cool to see him come up and get a podium finish at the UTV World Championship. You know, in this class, it means a lot.
And Caden pulled a third in this. Travis Salee. So Travis,
Punisher.
the Punisher.
Right.
Kid pushes, right?
Yeah.
And part of a great family, ton of great racers in that family. Travis Salee came out here and laid down a second place finish. And then this was great. So he had to park his car, because he pulled the first place, had to park his car, run off into the next race and co-drive on one of the big desert races.
Yeah.
With another driver.
Well, this guy actually did triple duty because he did the rally class,
Right.
Had some problems there, and then he jumped in and co-drove for another car in the big race. And again, you know, this is a family that's been involved with off-road racing for a long time. You know, Colby, his father, is part of the Method Race Wheels camp and Tensor Tires. So obviously he lives and breathes off-road racing. And his son, Ethan Groom, you know, this I can't speak higher of this kid. He's been coming up and doing better and better. But, you know, I just love seeing this evolution of youth racing. And Ethan took the #1 spot in the Youth 1000.
That's right, Ethan Groom on the #1. That was so cool to see. Let's talk about the rally class now. Now we're coming off into the adult classes. Or, I mean, actually some of the kids kind of migrated up into it. So give me a little definition of the rally class. So this is kind of freshy fresh when it comes to your program.
Yeah, I mean, we actually created this class, and we created it for 2 reasons. Number one is we wanted to get people off the couch, and we wanted to get them out racing with us. So this is a stock vehicle that's only modified really for safety. That's all we really require. Now, you can add tires and wheels and do other stuff to the car, but we don't require that. We don't even require a fuel cell, right?
Right.
So it's very economical to try and come out. Most modified play cars would pass tech and, you know, can come out and race with us. The other reason that we did it was that, you know, there are rally races all over the United States, and many of them are big in other parts of the United States that we don't have deserts in the Midwest and the South and the East Coast. So this same vehicle you can take and race with us, and you can go enter into all these other rally classes and go try that format of racing as well.
So let's talk about the finishers on this thing. So in third place, Colton Gubler. So taking the third position in #2, Seamus Smith in the 2 spot, and then Barrett Howarth taking the #1 spot, and that's in our Desert UTV Rally class.
Yeah, and that was a huge win for Barrett. You know, again, this is what I love about this race is that there are a lot of people that have been racing throughout the year that don't really get much recognition. And, you know, if they come here and they win, it's a big deal. It makes their career. So I look forward to, you know, Barrett having a lot more light shine on him in the future.
Right. So, and then unfortunately also it puts the race hooks into him.
Oh, of course.
Like,
that's not unfortunate. That's a good thing.
like, oh, okay. All of our focus is now changed off of stick and ball sports, and now, you know, like you were doing here and there. No, all that's gone away. We're now going to focus on this. We're going to build race cars, and we're going to go out and have fun in all these premier classes.
Right. The 1-ball sports don't matter to us. It's only the 2-ball sports.
They put me to sleep. So let's talk a little bit about the short course. So short course, you guys have specifically for the short course cars. So the short course cars set up a little bit differently than, you know, the long desert races. So short course cars are more designed for a shorter wheel span, correct? That you need to be able to flick through turns that are a little bit more effortless as opposed to the stretched out cars.
Yeah, absolutely. As we saw the evolution of UTV racing, you know, we saw the rise of both desert and short course, and that's what the UTV World Championship is about, is bringing everybody together under one roof and really exposing each other's discipline to each other, right? And short course was super important to us, you know, so we allowed them to run a shorter loop, so they didn't have to necessarily fuel. But these guys are serious competitors, and we wanted to give them, you know, their own race and the respect that they deserve, because they're gnarly, you know.
Oh, yeah?
They're doing the supercharger 30-minute runs normally, right?
Right.
But this race is a little bit different. We're going to go a little bit longer. It's a bigger loop for them, so we're pushing them outside their comfort zone and giving them a taste of desert racing.
So let's talk a little bit about the short course production 1000 class. Cole Fike took the number 3 spot. Brecken Miramon,
Yep.
right, taking the number 2 spot. And then Braden Baker taking the number 1 spot in that short course production 1000 class.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah. So let's talk about our short course Pro Turbo. So Pro Turbo is pretty much, you can have a gambit of, you could pretty much take the whole lineup of the turbo class, short course turbo class, take it like this and throw it down on the ground, and any one of them could take the top spot.
Absolutely. I mean, that it's a crapshoot, you know, and that's what's awesome about off-road racing is, even as a promoter, you know, I don't know who's going to win. You know, it's going to be decided out there on the track.
So in the number 3 spot, love this gal, great personality. Of course, I always love gals up on the podium, because it sets the tone for saying that you don't have to be a neck tattooed, Marlboro smoking, you know, Coors Light drinking
Tough guy. Right.
to go out there and win races or be up on the podium. You can be well spoken, attractive, and young, and go get it on the box. And that's who Sierra Romo is.
Absolutely. Super stoked for her and all the women racing with us, and it's really showing, you know, a lot of the younger women that are coming into the sport, the girls, that they not only can compete, but they can win.
She's a great promoter of the sport. Phenomenal. Every time you see her, she's always well-spoken. She always speaks highly of it. If something doesn't go well, she always is very humble about it, and she always puts it on herself. The humility of it is fantastic. Of course,
awesome.
that Romo family is fantastic. Unfortunately, her father didn't do very well in the same race, daddy-daughter dance.
Yep.
So coming in, number 2 spot, guy I've known for a long time, coming out of the ATV world, Larry Heidler pulling the number 2 spot, which was really cool to see. I saw him up there, and the guy was like, I'm going to lay this down.
It's awesome.
And he did, coming out of the Polaris Razor family. One cat that you've known for a couple days.
Just a couple days.
Just a couple days. He's done a couple neat things in a side-by-side, and that would be R.J. Anderson. R.J. Anderson, the Anderson family is, I don't even know what the hell those people are made out of, because they're just like unbelievable, superhuman. There was a huge gap between first and second.
Well, listen, RJ is the poster boy for UTV racing, you know, and he's put a ton of effort into sharing UTV racing with the world through all the work that he's done in racing and the XP1K series and his work with Polaris Razors. So I was super stoked that not only was he racing, but you know, he came out here and just, you know, really just put it down and just reminding everybody that he is the champion that he is. So I think this is a great victory for RJ. It's going to, you know, help, you know, continue on his career and his legacy.
Right.
And looking forward to more success from RJ.
Right. He's not just a pretty face shooting all kinds of crazy videos and stuff that go completely viral.
Right.
He could actually lay it down on the racetrack. Let's talk about, in that same event, we had a 7-800 class. Okay.
We did.
So that's, I mean, these are older equipment, obviously. They haven't been built in several years, but John Colterra taking the number 1 spot in the 7 and 800 class. The 900 class, Ryan Prosser taking that number 1 spot. And then also in the 1000 modified class. So you can do all kinds of crazy crap to the 1000 cars.
Right.
And then go out and run it. Chase Slaw taking the number 2, and then Brock Hammer bringing the hammer, and then laying down a number 1 spot. And that is in our short course race that was held on Friday.
Which is really cool because, you know, we try and allow everybody to come race in the different vehicles. So, you know, breaking out those different classes is critical.
Welcome back to the 2021 UTV World Championships award ceremony. That's what we're here for, right?
That is what we're here for.
This big guy right here is intimidating as hell. But the smile, don't let the smile fool you. I'm kidding. Anyway, so we're here for what's called the Perseverance Award. The Perseverance Award, of course, is somebody that went through a ton of adversity to get to their final spot. I mean, a little bit more or a lot more than anybody else on this scene. Brought to you by Robert Bland with Warfighter Made. First of all, I want to hear a little bit about Warfighter Made. Tell everybody what it is.
Yeah, so Warfighter Made, we're an all-volunteer, veteran-based nonprofit. We do recreational therapy for ill, injured, and combat wounded service members and veterans. We do that in a number of ways. First and foremost, we adapt and customize vehicles for catastrophically wounded warfighters. Basically, our brothers and sisters that went overseas and became amputees or severely burned due to direct contact with our nation's enemies. We do those adaptations and customizations free of charge. The other thing that we do that we're well known for is what's called adrenaline therapy. We take all vets from all branches and all eras. We have an affinity for our Vietnam veterans, and we put them behind the wheel of high-performance off-road vehicles like our Polaris Razors during Adrenaline Therapy Saturdays. We are also well known for taking vintage military vehicles and again taking vets and putting them behind the wheel, and we race races like the Mint 400. The third thing we do is a thing we love called camaraderie therapy. Again, it's bringing all those veterans to us, to our 4,000 square foot facility in Temecula, California. And that's where we maintain these off-road vehicles. It's where we build these vehicles for our catastrophically wounded brothers and sisters. And the last thing that we do is we work with other like-minded nonprofits to ensure that veteran gets the best experience possible. So we have like Vet Motorsports that does what Warfighter Made does in the dirt. Vet Motorsports does it on road. We have Vets for Hunting and Fishing. Obviously they're a hunting and fishing nonprofit. And then Desert Vets Racing is another organization that we support. They take vets and put them as co-drivers in desert races, in usually Polaris Razors and stuff like that. So it's kind of a full circle thing. We really enjoy taking care of the vets and their families, and and then we get to do things like the Perseverance Award for the UTV World Championships.
That's fantastic because it's a never quit situation, right? It's always a never quit situation. You go into combat. I've never been into combat, but I truly appreciate all of our brothers and sisters that have. Go into combat, you just can't give up. You just don't throw your hands up and quit, right? That's what this award is all about.
When adversity is stacked against you and it starts to look like it's never going to get better, that's when perseverance really needs to come up. And it usually just takes one person to bring up the whole morale of everybody else by making a comment, charging a machine gun position or something like that, or just basically looking at somebody and just being like, we're not giving up right now. We are going to push through to the very end, whether it's a combat situation or it's a race like the UTV World Championships.
So there's many moments where you go through a race where as a driver, as a racer, I've been a racer I was a professional racer for many years, and you get into a situation where it kind of separates where you want to give up and where you don't. I took a finger off one race, first lap. Stupid move on me. It was all on me. It was, dumbass move. But dropped my finger off at the medic, booted it back up, and took back off. The perseverance stuff, I mean, it's a non-give up situation, and that's what this is all about. And I can't thank Warfighter Made and you guys doing this for one specific racer. It's only given out to one specific racer for each event. And that perseverance really, off-road racers already have it. Mm-hmm. They already have it. They have the never quit
mentality. And from, the very first Perseverance Award that we ever gave away was at the UTV World Championships, the very first year, 2015. And that went to Donna Ellsworth, who was decimating her field and on a quad, and was on her last lap. She had approximately a quarter mile to go and blew her engine. That close to the finish line, but still so far away.
Right.
I just kind of felt like a lot of racers would have been like,
yep.
I'm done.
Throw a middle finger to the finish line. Yeah, like
Exactly.
it's just too far away.
But not Donna. Donna jumped off her machine and she started pushing it. And she pushed it at one point to the brink of exhaustion. She actually laid down on the track and probably took a 5 to 10 minute breather and then got back up and she finished it. She pushed her machine across the finish line, and she was so far ahead that she still finished in third place. But from Donna Ellsworth to the next year, it was Katie Vernola who cartwheeled her machine down the track, was trying to get anybody to stop and help her get it back on her wheels. She destroyed all the lights on her machine. It was dark now, but she still pushed to the finish to make that happen.
Right.
Casey Sims wanted the year after that, and Casey Sims as a privateer would come to the UTV World Championships, and as a privateer would always get on the box, and that says a lot about his mentality, about his parents' drive to make their child successful, and
work ethic.
Absolutely. Then we have Blake Level. Blake Level suffering from cancer. The whole UTV world kind of rallied behind him, gave him his own machine, and he decided that he wanted to race the UTV World Championships. And, when he finally got across that finish line, you were there.
Yes.
And he basically has blood pouring out of his face, and but he didn't want to quit.
No, he never quit.
And actually, Blake, you, if you're watching this, you have my favorite Perseverance Award. And then... then we have Dexter Warren, who came all the way out here as a kid from Australia, and on his first race gets tangled up and ends up on his roof and is screaming at people to flip him back over because he doesn't want the other kids to get away. That is the perseverance that we're talking about. And then, of course, we have Georgie Hamill, who won it last year at the UTV World Championships. Georgie, who basically died. During the 2019 UTV World Championships, persevered through that, and then came back for 2020 a year later and raced that same race that he was almost killed in and completed it. That is what we call perseverance. I'm actually getting goosebumps.
I am too, man. I mean, it's like, it's deep breaths. I mean, you talk about these people with the intestinal fortitude, the gut strength. It's the part that shuts your thinking part off and just says go.
Exactly.
Go. Who gets it this year? Because there is a montage of folks, of racers out there that they should have this on their fireplace mantle. But there's one person that earned it this year.
And we always say, it's the award that most people want, but few want to earn it.
Yeah, right? I never want to be in the position to get it.
And I was doing a thing with Georgie Hamill yesterday, and he's like, "I never wanted it."
Not that way.
You don't want to almost die in to earn the award type thing. But before I get into who earned it this year, let me talk about it. This award, like almost all of our awards, was made with spare parts that was given to us by Kevin Croyer of Croyer Racing Engines. Thank God he's really good at what he does, and people bring him their destroyed stuff so he can make it good. But these are all parts that he has sent us over the years. And it's Marine combat vet Narayan Devone who has made our last 4 trophies, our Perseverance Awards, for us. And basically you have Perseverance over here. You have Adversity as his
nemesis,
foe down here. And even though Perseverance is pretty banged up and whatnot, obviously he has slayed Adversity, and he's done that with his warfighter made shield and And then the plaque, of course, says, you know, the 2021 UTV World Championships Perseverance Award. Basically, it says, thanks for staying in the fight, just like our veterans.
Right.
And so the story behind this year's Perseverance Award, I want to thank all the race directors for the UTV World Championships, who basically kind of keep their ear to the ground on what's going on and who's doing what. This year, this individual is a pro racer racing in the pro turbo class. Basically yard sailed his UTV and had some pretty significant damage to it. And again, it's something where you can just kind of throw up your hands and say, hey, we'll get him next time, or
bring the trailer out and drag me back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or let's get the people on the track to tow us back in, or something like that. Not these guys. They went ahead and had parts brought out to them, did a racetrack fix.
Yeah, full rebuild, basically.
Right then and there, and still came across the finish line in 10th. So this year's Perseverance Award, and it's kind of fitting because this guy right here has a battle axe on him that he slayed adversity with.
Yeah.
Dustin Battle Axe Jones, you are the 2021 UTV World Championships Warfighter Made Perseverance Award winner.
Unbelievable. Coming all the way from Louisiana, I got to meet him up on stage. Great personality. I love chatting with this cat. Great dude for the sport. Anyway, came up, he told me, he's like, yep, stupid move, tore all kinds of stuff off. We just stayed out in the desert, fixed it back up, and then just because I wanted to come back up here and finish. I didn't drive all the way out here to quit.
He wanted to talk to you is what he wanted to do.
I think he did. He's such a great speaker. I basically ask a question and hand off the mic and then just go.
Just let him do his thing?
Just let us do his thing and then walk off for about 10 minutes.
And I also promise you, Dustin, that you did earn this. It had nothing to do with Cowboy Cerrone calling me and threatening me if I didn't give it to you. That did not happen.
No, it didn't. So I want to thank, of course, Robert Blanton with Warfighter Made, presenting us with the Perseverance Award right here in front of us. Of course, Dustin Battle Axe Jones. Congratulations. You earned it for no quit, but I mean, obviously you got it because of the hardship.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody wants to know more about Warfighter Made, you can look us up online at warfightermade.org. And we're also on all the major social medias at Warfighter Made.
Robert Blanton, thank you so much, my friend, and thanks for not yelling at me and scooting your chair down a little bit so I don't look like a midget. Going back to you. TPQ here.
Matt Martelli.
We're talking about the 2021 UTV World Championships trophy ceremonies here for our beautiful race here in Lake Havasu, brought to you by Polaris. We're coming on to the final classes we're talking about. So Matt, let me tell you about these trophies. These trophies made by Assault Industries are phenomenal, right? I mean, I don't know, $1,800 worth of labor and materials. I may be embellishing, but a lot of effort went into them.
Not much. I mean, these are amazing trophies. So, you know, all of our top classes are getting the same trophy, as well as all of our youth classes.
Wait a minute. You mean the Youth 170 class is getting that same trophy?
They get that trophy.
Because you don't mess around. You don't just give them some little flimsy pin. Thanks for coming. You give them a big trophy.
You know, especially my brother and I, we hate plastic trophies. So if we get to the point that we're giving out plastic trophies, please just finish us off. So
right, because that's where you're nearing the end. So anyway, phenomenal trophies done by Assault Industries, and these things are machined aluminum, steel. There's more parts on it than an IKEA bedroom set.
definitely, and it's already put together for you.
It's already put together. You don't get a one little Allen wrench in a box this big, you know, trying to put the whole thing together. It's a beautiful trophy, and all the classes get it, first, second, and third, of course, respectively. We're going into our desert racing class. So we're talking about the RS1. RS1 is a single-seater desert class, so you don't have any navigator in it, right? You're all by your lonesome.
No navigator, and if you have a problem, you've got to fix it yourself.
Right, you got to jack it up. You don't have anybody yell at. You can't be eating a sandwich, drinking a Yoo-hoo.
None of that.
Yoo-hoo? Did I date myself? I'm sure I did.
A little bit.
A little bit. So anyway, you can't be doing any of that. You have to hop out of the car. You got to fix it yourself. So the RS1 class, Jimmy Rodriguez pulling off the #1 spot in the RS1 desert class. I couldn't imagine being beat up by myself with nobody to yell at the whole time.
I couldn't do it. It's not my style. I like co-drivers.
We're talking about the Desert Unlimited class. Desert Unlimited class, Josh Fries taking the #3 spot. Brooke Jensen. So Brooke Jensen, she came in up on it and she looked at the #1 guy. She said, when I pull off the stage, I'm going to bump him to let him know I'm coming for him next year, which is great. The tenacity of that girl. Brooke Jensen. And then Michael the Mammal Mamelli pulling off the #1 spot. This guy is like screams intensity. It's the coolest cat.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe he's driving one of the Reese Millen chassis, right?
Yeah.
So, very interesting car. It's won the Ball 1000 before. That chassis, not that particular car. So big props to Mr. Mamelli.
So I talked to his co-driver a little bit. He's more my size, right? I'm like, how do you calm this cat down without chewing the steering, him chewing the steering wheel off and wanting to mash it in the corners and stuff like that? He goes, it takes, a couple little shots of downers into his side to get him, spiced down a little bit so he could get the car to the finish. And he did, and he took the win, the Mammal, taking the #1 spot. So we're talking about the Desert Pro naturally aspirated. Naturally aspirated car, meaning no turbos, superchargers, nitrous oxide, any of that kind of crazy stuff on it. It's a naturally aspirated motor, but you're running the desert class.
Yeah, and what's interesting about this class, and we talked about it in the live stream, is that this course is so technical. There's kind of a little bit of a debate of whether an NA car will beat a turbo car, because there's not a lot of places where you can really open it up and get top speed. So the Desert NA guys have very comparable lap times to the Pro Turbos and a very heated race, stacked field. Again, just love seeing the competition.
Right. Coming in #3 spot, Max Eddy Jr. What a great personality. I love this dude. Coming in, coming from the dirt bike world, right?
Yeah. Yep. He's had some big races recently. He raced in Dakar. He raced in the Sonora Rally. Almost won that. So he's definitely coming up. And we're talking about the fact that he's also racing an RS1. That was the same vehicle that George, who was with me in the live stream, had raced previously. That was put up by none other than Craig Scanlon, formerly of Polaris, and now with 4-wheel parts. So really cool. A lot of really cool support for UTV racers coming from.
And we're talking about the Desert Pro NA, and he did that in an RS1. He did it all by himself. He had some issues. He had to pop out, swap a tire, all by himself.
And still pulled off a third.
Still pulls off a 3. That's
cool.
That's pretty badass. So talking about Robert Enlow. Robert Enlow pulling off a #2 spot, which is a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, I think that's a big finish for Robert. It's going to give him a little bit of credit for, his racing, skill set.
We're talking about the #1 spot. So the #1 spot, the coup de grace, right? JD Marsh. JD Marsh taking the win on that Desert Pro NA. I mean, the brutal course. The course just went completely to poop, right?
Well, and these guys drove smart. They saved the car. They were there at the finish. They didn't have a ton of issues, but big props to JD. I think he's going to, continue to rise in the UTV racing world.
On to our final class, the Premier class. This was the last race of the entire weekend. And the course, you always put the Premier class at the very end. Why is that?
Well, these are the big dogs, right? And they have good equipment, they have experience, and this is basically the top of the food chain in UTV racing. The other important thing to talk about is that this is the biggest class in all of desert racing.
Oh yeah.
So when you go to the other big races like the Mint 400, the Ball 1000, this is the biggest class, and the times keep getting faster and faster and faster. And so, even in the bigger classes, these guys are beating a lot of the 10 cars, they're beating some of the 6100s, and it doesn't matter what vehicle you have, if you're fast, you're fast. the other thing about this race is if you go back and you watch the live stream and you look at the timing and scoring, it was a crazy race.
Oh.
We started out with, some race leaders that set just a bonkers pace. And, first lap was, I think it was 42 minutes. And, I'm sitting here, in the booth with George, and I'm going like, are they going to be able to keep this pace? Because every year it gets faster and faster.
Right.
Equipment gets better, drivers get better, but the whole front pack just died off. And I think it was around lap 3 where everything was going, kind of what the start order was, and then it just radically changed, and like 15 people dropped off.
Right.
And, so that's racing, and it was super exciting. So, one of the guys that I don't know, I'm interested to know more, and I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong, is Vito Ronal, right? Great job. He did a great drive. He just stayed consistent through the race.
Correct.
Right? And just kind of stayed in, a similar position. On corrected time, he had some people get around him, but not on physical. So, big props to Vito. 3rd place finish at the UTV Worlds. That's a big deal.
The lineup, if you look at the lineup of this Desert Pro class, it's the who's who of side-by-side racing.
Absolutely.
From all over the country, and several people came from other sides of the corners of the world to come here and race in this class.
I mean, listen, when you think about the fact that, out of, I don't know what the total, 37 racers in Pro Turbo, and we had 14 finishers, right? Just to get to the finish line of the UTV World Championship and get that finisher's medal is a feat. But if you came in the top 10, the top 5, you deserve a lot of respect.
Coming in the number 2 spot, this was a great person to see up here, because it was like a complete change around in first, second, third throughout the course of the race. And they were all within seconds of each other. Caden Wells pulling in the number 2 spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other interesting thing about Caden is he entered an NA car in the turbo class, right? So we were talking before about the advantages and disadvantages of a turbo. And of course that horsepower is always good, but this is a guy who just came out and went, you know what? I'm just going to race my race, and I'm going to be consistent.
Right.
And, he almost won the Pro Turbo race in an NA car.
Right, which is unbelievable. So this cat right here, we're talking about the number 1 position, the big dog, right? He's no slouch, and he's no, he knows the top spot here at the UTV World Championships. It was a complete nail-biter between him and Ryan Piplake. One of the last laps coming through, Ryan Piplake and he were separated only by 2.6 seconds.
Yep.
You're talking about a 45-minute lap, right? 2.6 seconds is literally blow a front tire off a turn and then come back in. It's literally that much time separation on a lap, or maybe slug off a little bit in one turn, slug off a little bit in another turn. That's what 2.6 seconds is.
Absolutely.
Cool as a cucumber. I do my best to get him all spooled up and get him grinning ear to ear and screaming and yelling. He never does.
Well, but one of the things I love about UTV racing, off-road racing, is you really don't know who's going to win. And Phil, coming into this race, I didn't really have him as a top 3 guy. Because it's a course change that he hasn't raced before.
Right.
He didn't have time to pre-run.
Correct.
I know he's super serious and prepped, but I just felt like, man, if you don't show up and get a look at this course, you have a huge disadvantage.
Huge disadvantage.
Because if you've gone out there and you've done pre-running, you not only do you know the course, you know the changes that you need to make on your vehicle for this course, right? So you have that opportunity to set your car up for it. Now, the thing about Phil, though, is he's no dummy.
Oh, yeah.
He came out here and he brought his King of the Hammers car because he knew this was going to be a rough and technical course. And obviously that paid dividends.
And we're talking about Phil Blurton. Phil Blurton, I say that because he's always on the rev limiter, but you catch him out of the car and he's
Absolutely.
so fun. Calm, cool, collected. Phil Blurton, congratulations on the #1 spot, and that's your premier class, your Pro Turbo class. So that is all the results we have for our 2021 Polaris UTV World Championships here, brought to you in Lake Havasu. Let's talk a little bit about the Mint 400 coming up here. We had a date change, did we not?
Yeah, absolutely. So we moved the date to December 1st through the 5th due to COVID. So we have, I think we're just north of 355 entries.
Wait a minute, 355 entries for the Mint 400?
It's going to be a big race. You're going to need your hoodie because it's going to be a little bit cooler.
I'll still wear my shorts.
But I think it's going to be awesome. I mean, we expect a bigger turnout than we normally get. Every event that's been happening right now has been bigger than that's ever been, and you know, it's going to be fantastic. And again, the biggest class in the Mint 400, UTV racing, so it's going to be super exciting.
My name's TPQ.
I'm Matt Martelli,
and we're coming back for you next year. Keep an eye out for the 2022 UTV World Championships, and we're going to be right here
in beautiful Lake Havasu,
coming at you. Until next time, signing out.
Thanks, everybody.